and it was quite expensive.
Hey, we weren't hadn't recording. In any event, Ray Smith is the guest this week on Charlie's Corner, and um, he's just going to give us a rundown on um, really how you got in this industry, where we met, where you
Yeah,
obviously have met with a bunch of the other people who are on right now. And then we can
yeah,
ask them questions about ink because I got a bunch of ink people on here. And so be kind of fun on that level. But at any rate, go ahead, Ray, go for it.
yeah. So I started at it was 47 years ago, right? In I was in Jonesboro, Arkansas, at Arkansas State University, and I was in charge of getting T-shirts for my fraternity. Um, I called the regular people that were always selling to the fraternities and sororities, and they were pretty expensive, like 12, $15 a piece. Um, and so I called my brother and asked him, if I supplied the art and found some shirts, how much did it cost to get them printed? And they were much cheaper. So I came back, even making a couple of dollars, at around $8 or so. Well, then it got around that I had got some great shirts for $8, and so every fraternity and sorority started calling me, even though I was a rival fraternity. Um, and I started making a little money in college, just on the side. When I got out, my brother and I opened a screen print shop in Pine Bluff, Arkansas, and I was there for a couple of years. I got married, but when that kind of failed, we kind of decided, hey, we got married too young. I did not want to live in Pine Bluff, Arkansas anymore. I want to get back to Memphis, and sold the shop, and then I was in Memphis from '84. Got a job at Champion Awards, and I worked there for quite a few years. Um, Tried my hand at trying to do a little startup out of Mississippi. It failed miserably. The folks I was dealing with, and I came back to Champion for a few more years. Eventually, I wanted to get out of Memphis, and I called one of the guys I used to work there. His name is Gerald Schindeldecker. He's still doing art to this day. Old school art, amber lift, airbrush, the whole bit on acetate. Um, we weren't even using the camera at first. And he moved from Champion to down to T-shirts of Florida, where he worked there for a while, and then he ended up getting a job with Isidore Mitzner at LAT Sportswear. Well, I was calling around. I was just trying to find something else to do, not be in Memphis. I wanted to leave, and uh, he said, "Hey, we're in Atlanta." I said, "Oh, that sounds great." Well, it was actually ball ground, so it was a little bit out of the way, but I came up and interviewed, and then rented a apartment sight unseen, and showed up, and that was in '91. And I think I attribute the Braves' success because they were terrible in '90. When '91, I showed up, we started winning every year. But it was a great place to learn more. I was doing a little bit of what I thought I knew what I was doing, and we go in there a little more automated. We had four automatics. We a little bit bigger, but we were doing LAT Sports at a time where you're selling youth garments to Walmart on the with the NCAA collegiate, logos, and learned a lot doing that. And that's when I took over productions, when I went to my first show and won you in the auction, and then the following year also, he did the same thing. Came in there, kind of went through our practices, taught me a lot. Um, Fixed machines, went in for new machines. I think actually that show we came in and got a couple gauntlets. They just came out. So yeah, so I was there for a few years, and then I was trying to get this certain type of printing on. The ink we were using at the time was doing okay because we are doing a lot of flashing, but then we had to start doing some different type of more halftone stuff, and that's when Nancy Brown from well, her name was Nancy Hunt at the time, came in and saw us. She was from Wilflex, and we started using the Wilflex line in there, and got used to it, loved it. I was there a total of 5 years at LAT, and in '96, no, 4 years, and in '96, 5 years, I went to Wilflex. It was flexible products.
I was going to say,
So,
didn't you go to that? What was it? That 3D. What was the name of that company before you got to Wilflex?
oh, in between there, it was Tex World, and
Okay.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, I left
I
LAT.
thought
It
you
was
were
just a
doing
very
some.
short time.
So weren't you doing stuff with scented ink for a while?
Oh yeah, that was
That
yeah,
was before
that
you
was
went to
later.
Wilflex.
Yeah, so I went. So I was at uh well, I turned to Poly One. It was Geon, then Poly One, and in 2005, I had my second kid,
Lost you.
Poly One at the time, and I just wanted to be home for the second kid, because the first one I thought I didn't see her enough, and I wanted be around for the second one, and I went in partnership at D Lab, and that's where we were doing the scented inks, and by then, I really I had the good education of being at the ink company for 9 years before I did that. And so I knew exactly what I wanted to use, how I wanted to use it, and I had the benefit of knowing some competitor products that I also liked. And so I was able to pull one or two of those things in. Oddly enough, a couple of things were from Rutland and a few things were from Union, including the Union process inks.
Yep.
And um, and so I had a great time there, and that's where I met quite a few great screen printers. We developed quite a few guys, and a lot of them have branched out and gone and ran their own shops. And that's also where I met Brenda McIntosh, who now runs our app lab. So, um, and in 2008, we had a little bit of a mix up with one of our partners sold his part to another person, and that person ended up not doing us so well and ended up kind of putting us in a bind. But let's say it was quite a few Tom Garvey and Chris Pluck and quite a few people kept calling and asking me to come back. And so when I saw that really D Lab was functioning great and I didn't need to be there, I said, well, I'll go back to which was now Poly One still and new bosses and everything, and got back into it. So I've been there since then. That was in 2008. So spent quite a few more years there. A total of 20. Well, January would have been 26 years total,
Mm.
um, counting it all. So I've been there. And so
Okay.
now it's next steps. I'm ready to do other things. I've got a few private projects I'm doing. In fact, you know, I have an idea. I want to do some, consulting, of course, when the opportunity arises. Talk to you about that, and getting some mentorship from you on that kind of thing. Um, like I said, I mean, you are full tilt into it. I'm going to be more a little bit stand back because I do want to kind of have time for my other projects. But I'm going to be probably very very involved still. John keeps tagging me. You hear if you hear the beeping on your end, these texts. Um, and so and then also even after I put this up that I'm retiring, I think John did a great little post about me retiring.
Yeah,
I
he
got
did.
quite a few interest. I got some interest from people just want to talk to me. So I'm going to give that a shot. I think I'll be fine.
I don't doubt that. I'm sure you'll do just fine. I mean, you've been at this long enough. Certainly, I know you chatted potentially about doing a little bit of consulting work, which I'm sure you'll be able to
Yeah.
get into. Um, Obviously, you know enough about ink at this point to be able to do a bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
Uh, actually, may even have some people on who, especially Jim, who might have some questions about ink.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's all about you, but it's also about whatever anybody wants to throw out there. So
Oh,
uh,
yeah. Yeah.
we've got Sean, who's a printer. Jim Rossman's a printer.
Hmm.
Uh, I don't know if they have any questions for you or for any of the other Avient people who are on. Uh,
Yeah.
but so
Is
your
the
next
beard
step is going to
genetic?
be some private projects, huh?
He
So
says it's the
you're going to
beard
be,
genetic is what you ask.
huh?
Yeah. Nobody in my family. Well, my dad did have a mustache, and he had a goatee at one time. He was trying to look like oh, what's his name? The mechanic. What's that guy's name? What's the actor? Oh man, I'll think of it in a second. I'm old. I can't remember things.
Yeah,
Tough
I know
guy.
that feeling.
They're all trying to look like the tough guy, you know. Yeah, but I don't know. I never seen him with a beard, so I just this came about just because I wanted to change one time. Uh, uh,
I think
decided I went through a divorce of the mother of my children, and or I was going through one. And one Christmas, I had a little bit longer break than normal, and I just didn't shave.
yeah,
And by the end of that 3 or 4 weeks, I said, "Oh, it's coming in pretty good." So I the full beard wasn't in at the time. It was a goatee. You don't put a goatee in.
yeah.
So I did that, and I had that for since 2008. And then probably about 9 or 10 years ago, uh, I was married again. um,
How many
and
times have you been married now?
we really, I'm not going to talk about that. I'm a romantic. I don't know. I don't know what it is.
Yeah, it seems that way. Yeah.
um, so I actually grew it for Halloween. I was going to be the most interesting man in the world. So I went and let it grow out. I didn't even get to do that because some odd reason my daughter got sick and went to the hospital. We couldn't even go. I didn't even get to do it. But when I came home, I went to go to shave it, and my wife at the time said, "No, don't. I'm kind of digging it." So okay, so I left it, and then I've just let it go ever since then.
Uh, I
Thanks,
know how
thanks for
that
the
goes.
thanks for the question. It went a long ways of just talking about my beard.
It's funny. I grew my mustache back in October of 1968. It's never been off my lip. My wife and my daughter have never seen my upper lip. I've gone through beards, goatees, etc. But yeah, not that I didn't, have stuff in college, but October '68, uh, after I got busted for pot when I was in college,
Oh yeah,
is when I grew it and haven't taken it off since. So no one's ever seen my upper lip
oh yeah,
unless they knew me before '68,
yeah.
which was a long time ago. Yeah, I mean, during the pandemic, a bunch of people grew beards just because we were stuck at home and there was nothing else to do, and why bother shaving if you don't have to go out? And blah blah
Right.
blah. And so here we are.
Yeah.
In any event, moving on from beards and mustaches. Uh, Not that there aren't a bunch of us on that do have them. Matter of fact, we actually dominate right now, so that's all
Right.
right. Um,
Yeah.
when
Too bad John's not on.
well, John was trying to kind of get on. He had his problem, but I know he has a toothache or something,
Yeah,
and so
they're pulling a tooth right now, probably.
yeah. So yeah, he's going to be hurting for a little while, but well, he's young. He'll get over it. Part of what we do. Um, we know what kind of what your next step is. I assume you're going to be at the show in January or no?
Well, I'm contemplating that. had a couple people ask if I could help, and I'm going to try to get that together. I'm putting together my what what am my LLC or whatever I'm going to do the self employment stuff and let them know. So one particular person at Avient has asked me a couple of times, so I think I'm going to hustle and get that done and give it a shot. I'd like to be there no matter what, you know. So
John and I are going to be doing a seminar together at
yeah,
the show. And you were going to be part of it initially, but of course, now that you're retiring, they booted you out of it. So that took care of that. But
I was going
certainly
to be
you're
a
welcome to
heckler.
come in. We're going to be talking about white inks quite a bit. And
Uh-huh.
I don't know, Jim, I don't know if you have any questions about some of the whites, because as long as you got all these Avient people on, if you got questions, this is the time to throw it out there.
Right now, no. Just can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah.
No. So I just the only questions I've got on most like the poly cottons, we're using the chill right now, but the chill key that now that it's starting to get, I've got like 4 months into my 5 gallons. It's starting to get almost chunky, and it was
Oh yeah.
something I haven't experienced with like the Eclipse or um some of the other inks. So I was wondering, is there another poly cotton you would recommend, something that's creamy and smooth like the M3s are for cotton? Is there anything out there that's for
Well,
a cotton that's good?
the the plain poly white's pretty creamy. It's just that when it's colder, it will feel really kind of sticky and short. But you saying it's clumpy.
Yeah, it's
Um,
getting grainy is
it
probably
is
the best
yeah,
way to
it's a
explain it.
low that's a low cure. So it's got to be careful not to be around anything pretty hot. Um, yeah, most of the low cure, I mean, yeah, low cure and low bleed, they'll they stay stiff, or they'll get stiffer. Um, Shearing it's by far the best thing. If you're not any luck shearing it, then I would recommend getting some of the viscosity buster.
Okay.
It's a very effective creamer. It's what we use in the ink to make it creamy when we're making it. So you probably only need no more than 3%. You probably only need like 2%. Very small amount. Mix it in, and it'll get very creamy. And it's not going to affect the bleed resistance because it's so
think that
small amount that you're putting in there.
that's a good note. I used to use that ink as well, and especially this time of year, it just needs a little more time in the machine than usual to get, for the viscosity to get where you want it. But that chill reducer is really good. It's a
Yeah,
great tool for this time of year. I second that.
yeah,
Yeah. Well, the biggest thing is once, if I have any of the runs where I haven't had the issues, I've been on the long runs. So
mhm,
we're in, 120 plus pieces. The bulk of my business is that 40 to 60 piece range. So it seems like it's
right.
just right at the end starting to loosen up and
Mhm.
work through the job.
Are you warming your
I
cotton?
got That's something we developed. John had a big hand in working with what Shirt Kong, right? Creating the perfect scenario for white. And what they did, they did use the thicker low bleed whites because it gives you the opacity you want with
Hmm.
one hit, or well, 1.5 hits. Nothing's one hit around there. Um, but what they would do is when they came in the morning, they had that 5 gallon bucket on the turnabout, and they would just turn it on when they came in with the lights. Turn it on, and by the time they're ready to run, they just ran it and they left it kept turning. So you had to shear. The shear is like number one way to get something ink to flow.
Okay.
It's made for it, pseudoplastic. So you get it moving. You're going to use. You know that you're not going to have as much trouble in the summer months because it's going to be relatively warm, but still shearing it's better than warming it.
Okay.
I've actually had people call and say, "Hey, I put this bucket on top of the dryer all morning." I'm going, you don't want to do
Don't do that.
that.
Nope.
That bottom's
Nope.
going to be cured. Yeah, yeah. Most people, a lot of it, you'd be surprised how many people say, "Hey, you got to warm it up." I said, "Don't." By warming it up, you mean stirring it, stir it. Let's
And
get it.
not with a
And
drill.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
not too high. Yeah. Right. Even our place, we have trouble every once in a while. Someone leaves the mixer on too high, big mixer. I've had that one or two times in my career where it just locked up the ink in our big mixers, and that's not fun getting out.
Nope.
But for the most part, it's like nice and steady, steady, slow turn will do it. we'll get the ink flowing, and it'll be the same. What's great about doing that, if you do it summertime, wintertime, you'll end up with the exact same ink all year round.
Okay.
So you don't have to worry about the printers get used to that.
Okay. So the biggest change I've had is I'm going from my manuals for the last 12 years or whatever, the
Mhm.
10 years, to an automatic in the last two. And it's
Oh, yeah.
still trying to, and that's two is a loose lip. I had it on order for 2 years. I got it in for less than a year now. But
Yeah.
but no, it's just been with the manual, I push through. I'm not a small person, so I'm pushing through. It was me on the shop, and then
Mhm.
I could push the inks. My favorites are always the low bleeds, and it was just
Yeah.
push them through. I could push them through, but going to the manual and trying to get it in that time frame to loosen.
Mhm.
My MHM is I don't have that. You can double index. I don't have a print flash print where I'm able to go back on that
Oh,
on the
yeah.
manual. It's like I could do that, and you carry it all the way around the carousel, come back to it. So,
Hmm.
but no, so it's been an experience. I was just trying to figure out why are we doing this, and it was and I was like, maybe it's the difference. Maybe I back off the 230s, do a 156, and I wasn't gaining anything on that,
Uh,
other than bulking up the ink and getting sloppy on the image. So,
well, and all of the Avient inks, we design it to shear and to flow to get a flow rate and not to go too low. But we feel like, and I think Dustin can back this up. It doesn't matter what the mesh is. The mesh is, and like the open area obviously is important, but to get that stencil on that mesh, the stencil is way more important with our ink. Once we get it sheared, it's going to fly through that mesh. I don't care what it is. I mean, even 230s look really good, but getting that ink to go through the mesh when you're flowing, when it's being flooded, let it settle down in there. You're going to end up with uh, an ink that's already sitting on the bottom of the mesh, waiting to just be let go. So you think you use less pressure when you're at when you get to that point. So the less pressure you use, the more opaque it is.
Did you know why referees have to check Tony? Everyone knows that shin guards are designed to protect players from injuries during.
somebody
However,
got a hot mic on something?
Someone's talking about shin guards on the radio.
animation is part of the shin, leaving most of the leg exposed. Of course,
Where's that coming from?
I don't know. It sounds like European football to me. Shin guards. Oh, he just went. He just muted.
Oh, well.
Thanks a
So
lot.
hey,
I appreciate that.
Dusty, you want to talk about mesh a little bit?
Yeah.
What we're doing what do we do at Avient to improve our mesh in our
Our stencil.
EOM?
Yeah, so EOM is it's pretty incredible. I mean, I was showing the sales team last week some studies about how a higher EOM, not too high, of course, but a higher EOM actually gives you better detail than a lower EOM. That's a common misconception that a thinner thread of emulsion gives you better detail. The reason you think that is because it's easier to rinse out and you see the dots easier. But if you want to get very good detail and have very little resistance to your ink going through the mesh, you want to have a higher EOM. And you've also got to think about the surface energy of this is very geeky, I'm sorry, but the surface energy of the emulsion itself. If it's following the flow of the thread, then your surface energy is going to be met with a lot of friction. But if you have a good EOM, you're actually going to be able to enhance your quality of white. So I usually aim between 15 and 20 EOM. That's what we've got here. And we've noticed our whites perform much faster, especially like, let's say, a Street Fighter. You put it in the screen and it immediately starts clearing because it's not fighting the fibers of the shirt. You've got that gasket there that gives you a little bit of room and good peel. So a couple things that always help me with white is warm your palettes, have a very good EOM, and if you're having to push more than 50-55 psi, then your EOM is probably too low. You want to be more around that 40-45 psi, 20-degree angle, and probably around the 60-90-60 squeegee. And man, you can go all day long with that. But of course, every shop's different. Every off contact is different. But just work within those parameters and see what works best for you.
Yep. That's what I got. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, I think white ink is more about application than anything else.
Okay.
well, yeah, I'm more of a fan of even a slightly softer squeegee, 55, 90, 55, um, and a 15 to 20 degree angle, 15 being my go-to, and a slower print stroke versus a really fast, which I don't understand. People um, turn up their machines to the point where they've got inks flying all over the place and they think they're really going that much faster. And in the end, it's fractions of a second difference. And all it does is create a bigger mess for you rather than a good looking print. But,
Mhm.
every shop has their pros and cons in the way in which they do things. And some of it makes sense, some of it makes no sense whatsoever. But trying to convince somebody that what they're doing is not exactly the best option. Um, when they screw up enough times, then they start to play with other situations. So, and this is the time of the year where people finally get a chance to play.
Right. And they're playing with cold ink.
Well, yeah. The
So
problem,
those my gems on, especially on automatic. What I learned on automatic is, when you get a good stencil on your squeegee. And the way we did good stencils is we did we flood. Well, I did a lot of manual when I was at D Lab. We didn't have an automatic uh, coder until the last few months I was there. But we did one stroke on the outside, two strokes on the inside, pushing that emulsion back to the outside, and then drying, of course, face down. Um, but on the press, you're saying, okay, I want the best white possible. So you're doing the slower one stroke, and you say, okay, that's good, but it's not quite where I want it. And then you say, oh, a double stroke looks great. Well, as soon as you get to the double stroke, I'd say, okay, now it's time to speed that thing up a little bit, and you want that first stroke to almost clear all the way. Almost. You still want to smack with it because that way you're taking pressure off. And then when the second one hits, that's when it clears completely. You got the right amount of pressure. And I'm coming back from the days when you could not see how much pressure you're putting on with I think today's presses where you're able to control the air pressure, it's a godsend. You can actually write it down. But back in my day, you just kind of like backed off all the pressure and kept on adding it until it cleared. And knowing that you're going from a single stroke to a double stroke, that's when you can speed it up and take pressure off. And as long as it's clear on that second stroke, what's great about that too, it actually shears your ink while you're on the press. It kind of keeps it in that flowing state. So I'm not afraid of doing a double stroke, especially on today's machines. I don't know if you guys, there's still machines out there that actually print, drop, come back up, and print again. That kills you. But today's machines, they come up and they double stroke and then go back down. You're not wasting that much time. You get just a slightly better print.
yeah, I'm always amazed, um, how much time gets wasted getting things adjusted, and then on press they're trying to make up for it.
Yeah,
And it's
yeah,
kind of like, really, come on.
yeah.
Uh, if you get all your ducks in a row initially, you don't have to try and kill your machine. Uh,
Right,
Most people can't go as fast as the machine would like to go anyway. I mean,
right.
back in my day when we just had precision ovals, it was pretty easy. It was
Mm-hmm.
one stroke for everything, and if you really needed to get it out the door, you turned it up to 900 pieces an hour, and you cranked out at 900 an hour.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Today, because they're round machines for the most part, you can't even go that fast because if you miss load, you've got to stop the machine in order to not have a mess. And so, you know, numbers today are quite different than they were years ago.
Yeah, yeah.
So was the
What I like
quality.
it.
Quality back then was not an issue. Didn't look good, but it had to look good. It didn't matter what it felt like.
Yeah, yeah. I remember those old machines, oval, the precisions. they had a certain beat about them. You go, they were one, two, cha, two, chi, cha,
Oh
two.
yeah.
So you
Listen,
start getting it in
I
your
could sit in my
brain.
office and hear it. And if I didn't
Yeah,
hear it, I knew there was something wrong,
you
ran
run out there.
outside.
Money making, no money making. You run out there and say, "Hey, what's up?"
Yeah.
No, but I would say you get in a rhythm, And so I remember doing hot market. We had those machines out at Champion Wards. In the hot market, you would get like it's 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning, and you're tired. No one's talking because they're just beat, but you got the rhythm going. Your body is on automatic pilot, and the beat
Yeah.
kept you in beat in rhythm. So it was kind of a good thing to have. And you could speed it up. It's amazing. Those big machines move pretty good. So
Yeah. Well, back in my old rock and roll days, we only had one speed, and that was at max speed, which was and give us 5,500 prints in a shift.
now,
Yeah. But of course, those were back in the days before the flash was invented, before the even the thought of a double stroke. That just didn't exist at that point.
yeah, yeah.
But today, we want finesse. We want it to look good. We want it to feel good. We want it to be nice and sharp. Blah blah
Well,
blah.
unless it's DTF.
Well,
I had to throw a jab in there, man. Come on.
yeah, funny stuff. Who knows? Who knows? It's interesting. You're talking about EOM. Have you read any of the things about that Michel Kaza has put out? Are you familiar with him?
Yes, yes. No, I haven't. I know what you. I didn't read anything on EOM from him though.
He has a whole thing out on when I was at his factory or his shop way back in the early 90s or late 1980s. Uh, his guy coated his screens with a big rubber squeegee, and it was just one stroke, one swipe over the top. So it was just a single stroke and no inside, no outside, no EOM for the most part. And so I do have a long article that he wrote on uh, single coating a screen and the advantages of it.
Hmm.
And I did do a little playing with that using some 305 mesh, doing a 4-color process job, and pretty amazing how well it holds up if you expose your screen correctly.
Right.
Of course, on 4-color process, do you really need a whole lot of deposit? You really don't, because you're not looking for opacity. You're on a white shirt for the most part, and you're just looking to get your detail down and allow your inks to blend together properly.
You almost don't want a lot of opacity. You want a small amount of ink to go down because that color is going to shift to the color it's supposed to be. It's not that color. I mean,
Right.
it's going to shift. It's just depending on the white of the shirt to create that color, the brighter color that you want, and it's got to be consistent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, if you're interested, I do have the article if you ever want to
Oh
read it.
yeah.
Pretty interesting. But
Yeah.
I did some playing. Actually, I did it in one of my workshops, in a couple of my workshops where we had a 4-color process job and stuck it on it. The one thing about it is detail is crazy because obviously when you don't have a whole lot of emulsion, it's easy to hold everything. Pinholes actually didn't exist. I mean, we never ran into a pinhole problem, used the same screens for like 3 workshops.
Wow.
Now, we're not doing tons and tons of printing, uh, but I work with a shop in New York that um, does single coats on all their screens, and they're knocking out 1,000 prints a day per machine. They've got 25, 26 machines running. And, the funny thing was when I asked Manny why he does it, he said, just cuts his cost.
Oh,
And,
really?
and,
How
and
much is it?
his average run is under 100 pieces. And he
I was
just
about to
cranks
say.
away, and he's
Yeah.
knocking out 800 screens a day. So the amount of emulsion that is different is considerable.
Well, that would add up at a place like that. That's for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's a bit of an anomaly, but nevertheless, there are those out there that get it to work and make it happen. But
Mhm.
anyway, who knows? Um, so we've got a Minnesota crew that's on. Hi, guys.
Yeah.
T's phone.
So the question that we have, do you have any questions on ink or anything? How are things going out there?
Can you hear us? Can you hear us?
Yes.
I could hear you. How's everything going?
Pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah, good. We're
Oh,
getting,
No doubt.
we're
Apparently,
getting
no
it figured
doubt.
out, put it that way.
I just want
You
to say
always
hi
have
and
to
see how
figure
you
it
guys
out.
are doing. Hi there.
She's being shy. Um, I don't know. We've been having lots of issues, but we're figuring things out.
Well, that's good.
I think our main thing is we do need like a roller or like a second
Or
like
double squeegee or
double
something.
squeegee just to like lay down our ink better.
Especially on black t-shirts and sweatshirts, it seems like we get a lot of that fuzzy looking stuff, and then you try to add a little more white, and then that doesn't help.
That makes it worse.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of reasons for that. I would say one, if it's looking fuzzy, it could be your EOM, could be the amount of emulsion you got down, but also a peel. Make sure it's peeling away as you're printing, exactly right behind your squeegee. Don't let it hold on at any time. You get 2 or 3 inches of it holding on, that can pull up fibers and things like that. But I don't know if you were on earlier when we were talking about getting that ink stirred, especially white inks, keeping it warm. In that respect, you shear it and the more you stir it, the better, the creamier it gets. So if you got a turnabout or some way to stir that ink before you even get it in the screen, it gets it warmed up already. And then a lot of times what we'll do is, and we did in the old days when it was cold, we'd put that ink in a little area of the screen where there's no image, and
Yeah.
actually have it stroke back and forth and stir the ink right there on the screen, and you have your palettes warmed up, and then you can start going. It should be printing a lot easier. Knocking your squeegee out will make more ink go down as it's rolling, and you should see the ink rolling behind in front of the squeegee, rolling down in a downward motion. That will put more ink through, but then um, experiment on putting less pressure down. Actually, see if you can uh, see how light of a stroke you can do without it, with it clearing still. So that'll create a little bit of a layer of ink instead of being pulled up.
Like on this shirt, we had an issue where we were putting this 5K on there
Oh yeah.
and wanted to smear
Uh-huh.
on it. So I just put less tension,
Yeah.
Yeah. Less pressure.
then we finally got it not to.
Right. Yeah. So think about this. When you're printing on a t-shirt, you're printing directly on the garment, you are printing a t-shirt. So that first stroke, that first layer is going to be around 45 pounds of pressure. You can have a little more pressure. Whatever makes it work, make it work. After that, you're printing on plastic. You're printing on a bumper sticker, basically. So you need no pressure at all. I mean, we take it out. If you're able to measure your pressure, a typical on a fabric's gonna be like 40 or 45 pounds of pressure. When I'm printing on top of my white inks, I'm using like 20 or 25 pounds of pressure. You don't need any at all. It's gonna want to stick to that white, and it's gonna peel away. And you can use a 230 mesh or even higher if you want to, and it'll cover. So you got to think of that way. If you're going to be stepping on, obviously that's another. You probably want to be around 230. But if you're like, it's that red probably printed toward the end, I would say, right? Or before a flash.
Right.
Yeah, you can use a higher mesh, and you should be getting everything you need on that, as long as it's peeling away. as long as you've got the off contact to where it peels away. What kind of machines are you using?
We have a M&R Sportsman,
Okay.
but
So,
like we can't really set our pressures. We just have to turn the handle up above. Like we
oh,
don't.
you don't have the air pressure?
They have an
No.
older
Yeah.
machine, so it's
Older.
just the valve on top.
Oh gosh. Yeah, that's
So we're
not
kind
fun.
of just guessing. Like we kind of just keep
Yeah.
touching it, rolling it down, and
So when I had those machines, I'd take it all the way up, and then I would just get a dud on there, and I just slowly turn it until it cleared where I liked it, and then put a new one on and try it again and make sure it's clearing. And that way I know I'm just putting just enough pressure on there. Because if you just start out where it was set last time, you never know. The screens are a little different. You could be putting too much pressure down. But
we
you did
always
the
have
right
trouble
thing.
with the red. It seems like the red is the one we have trouble
Yeah.
with. Wants to
It just
stick.
flows. It flows so fast. You probably just need a higher mesh and
Okay.
kind of back it off. Yeah.
Okay, that's good to
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
Because it's thick. Like the red is thick
Yeah.
enough when it's not warmed up. But I wasn't sure if we needed a higher mesh or a lower mesh because it was kind of thick, but higher mesh.
Yeah.
Okay. 230.
Weird.
I think I've been using 195.
Yeah, go to like 230,
Okay.
and that ought to be a little more controllable. You won't get that splotchiness.
Okay.
Same with Royal Ink too. Same thing.
Yeah.
Less pressure, more. It means more opacity.
Okay.
Yeah. All right.
And we're looking
And-
at getting the separation studio, so we wanted to.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I'll get back to you on that
Yeah.
a little
Tried
a
it.
little later today.
Okay. We did a little
Yeah.
trial of it.
Yeah, we're working on that. All the Avient inks are going to be loaded on that.
Okay.
You'll be able to pick it out. I don't know what inks you're using, but whatever. But it's an Avient ink.
That's Union.
That's Union.
That's Union, yeah.
Ben, how are you doing? Oh, you're on mute.
Okay, so I have a slightly dumb question.
Yes.
About heating up the pallets before you print. I mean, because
Right.
of the flash unit. I've never seen it, but do people ever really measure the temperature underneath the pallet and
Can
chart?
you? Yes.
People do chart it?
Yeah, they try. So some of the newer things that are on the market, the gel pads, etc., the ones from PMI, at 130 degrees, it turns from green to yellow. So you've hit 130.
Interesting.
And so, is that a good idea? It really is, because most people don't know how to, they'll use a temperature gun to see what the temperature of the pallet is. But as you're printing it and flashing, sometimes that pallet is getting really, really hot. And, one of the things you want to do is sometimes back off the amount of flash time that you're using, which most shops don't. They just keep on going, whatever it
Right.
is.
That's one of the biggest problems we find when we're coming into a shop is the pallet temperature is way too hot.
Yeah.
And
So, should you be checking your pallet temperature? You want to get a certain amount of temperature in there, 120, 130, 130 certainly being a good number. Getting it too hot and not turning down your flash, you're going to just cure the ink completely, and then you're going to create a compatible issue between the base ink and the inks going on top. And that's where you get some of that bubbling and some of the pitting that shows up.
So we do a lot of testing, obviously, and we have to try to get as consistent as possible. And we have a Sportsman and a big oval, so striker. So what we need to do is we actually warm up the pallets, but we don't have those flashes on super high. I know some people are tempted to have super high flashes and then they warm it up and they take the flashes back down. I prefer trying to get to a set temperature on your flashes. Usually the first flash is going to be On our machines, we put the first flash around 230, and then the rest of the flashes are lower. They could be 205 or even 200, and we just kind of keep that going, and we let it start running. So in a production environment, what we do is you get set up, you got your job ready to go ahead and get the warm up cycle going. It usually takes about 2 or 3 rounds for you to get around 120. You can start in at 120, but we don't want to go over 145. If we start getting the 150 range, you can start getting too hot. And where I measure that is I actually have the temperature gun, and I'll walk to the cooling station after a flash, and before it moves to go under the print head, I want it to be around 145 at the highest. And that's if you start getting more than that, it's overkill. Plastisol and water-based, both, they don't need that much. And the thing is, when we did a study on flash curing or flashing on a pallet, we watched the temperatures. When you start in, you're all over the place. Your pallets will be all different temperatures. But once you're around probably 4 to 5 minutes in, you'll start seeing a real leveling of all the pallets, and they'll level out to a certain temperature. But that target temperature needs to be under 150. Going into underneath a press. So if you got quite a few wet on wet, you can actually get back down to 120 again before it goes under a flash unit again. It's quite possible. But going under that first head or any head, you don't want it to be more than 145, especially on water base.
So your experience on heating up the pallets, is that like a 10-minute process of running a dry cycles and letting the flash units go? Is that about right, time-wise?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. And we do it. So you try to make it in production. The only time it makes sense is after say you strike it off, you're going to get okayed. Go ahead and start warming that up. But it's usually only the first couple of times when you're running that you have to warm it up, because those pallets will maintain some type of temperature and be ready to go back up again. So say the third job, say you're doing 100 or 144 pieces at a time, and say the third job, you really only have to go around a couple of times and it's ready. Yeah. And I like that you get cheap Raytech gun, temperature gun, and then have somebody kind of hit it. One of the guys that works with Max Price, what he likes to do to make it easier on the printer, especially if the printer is running the machine by himself, we'll get up a setup. We'll set up, and we'll find that one cool station, and we're trying to hit it 145. Okay. Well, once we get that set, we say, read your loading palette, and the loading palette may say 125. We'll say, okay, when you hit 125 on your loading palette, you're good to go. And generally it's gonna maintain that. If you start getting hotter than that, then you got to double check. And I know and Charlie probably agree with this. A lot of times guys like to use time, especially on the new machines. You just say, hey, I'm at 3 seconds now. We'll go to 2.5 seconds on my flash, or 2 seconds on my flash. That helps. I just prefer to get a more consistent temperature going the whole time, and then using the same amount of time, but just bring that temperature down. It makes more sense to have less temperature for the same amount of time, to me.
Mm-hmm.
That answer your question, Ben?
It did. What I don't think anybody has is with having air underneath the pallet cooling it at all. If they have a problem.
I'm not sure anybody's really looking to cool their pallets.
You can control. I mean, you're in control, even if it's a 98-degree day or it's 110 in your shop. You can't add heat unless you're a lot hotter on that flash unit. So say, hey, I can't help it. We get this a lot from guys in Central America. They say, oh, we can't keep it on 150 because it's already 120 in here. I go, just don't have your flash units that high. That's what's making it. No, it doesn't automatically go up 30 degrees. I mean, you're making it go up 30 degrees. So, and believe me, it's you can really cool down your shop by using the less heat for the same amount of time. And then and also on your dryer, slowing low is better than fast and hot. I mean, it's better for the ink, it's better for your shop. And what you want to do is get that sweet spot of where you're loading the shirts and not stopping to load the shirt, but loading the shirts and then going, hey, well, that's my speed. Now I want to check my temperature and make my temperature work. And uh, so I'm going to say, for instance, if you're going at 30 seconds through your dryer to hit 320, you're going to have it set on 360 to hit that temperature, and it's going to be for a short time, and you're really putting stress on that ink. If you go for a minute, you only to hit 320, you set it on 325. So that's a difference. That's a big difference in your heat in your shop. And then if you go to low cure, it's even better. You can get down to 270 or 275 to hit 270 in 1 minute. So you imagine how much you can cool down your shop if you go to total low cure and slow your dryer down, but you can get the temperature lower.
All right. Hey, Ray, I think we're done.
Okay.
Thanks so much for coming on. Really appreciate it. I don't know if anybody has any more questions. If they do, this would be a good time to get it out. Otherwise, they're going to have to hire you as a consultant to get their questions answered. So,
Daddy's got to eat.
Exactly. In any event, this will be on my website in a couple of days. If anybody that wants to catch up on what we went through today. Other than that, good luck. I look forward to seeing you at some of the shows, certainly, and stay in touch in terms of what you're up to and what you're doing. Certainly interested. And, we've known each other for long enough where I don't think we have to stand on ceremonies. So that's a good thing. But in any event, really appreciate having you on. Thanks
thank you.
To the rest of you for coming in. I'm not sure who my next guest will be. I'll figure that out. We're in December, so not much goes on, but I'll probably have somebody on in January.
How about Santa Claus? You ready?
Oh, well, there you go. Oh, you're the Santa Claus with a black hat instead of a red one. Nice.
I'm the anti-Claus.
I could buy into that. In any event, really appreciate it. And I'll be sending out notices when I have the next Charlie's Corner, but it'll be in January sometime.
All right.
Other than that, hope everybody has a great holiday and look forward, stay healthy and see all of you, or as many of you as possible in January. Thanks for being on.
Thanks, Charlie. Thank you, guys. Thanks for your questions.
Yep. Thanks, Charlie.
Thanks.